Hello, everybody. I'm Rainbow, and this is Dimensional Walking, a paranormal journey. And today I thought it would be fun to share with you some of my drawings. And I think as an empath, it's really important to talk about what we see, try to get confirmation on what we see, but also if we have any artistic ability, I'm okay, but I try to get my drawings to where at least you can see what I see. Sometimes I'll do a little artistic privilege, but most of the time it's exactly what I see. The only time that I think that I've really ever kind of tried to make something not so scary is I think with the reptilians, but I don't see them very often, thank goodness. So what I'm going to start off with is a drawing that, or an image that came into my mind around 2013. And this image was like very like plain in front of me. And it was an alien image and it's a symbol. And it was made very clear to me that I had to share it with Michael. So I think it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And I woke up and I got up and I drew and this is actually what I drew. It's not the best drawing, but it'll give you a good idea of what the symbol looks like. And then I told Michael, I said, I'm supposed to tell you about this image, this whatever it is, the symbol. And so here it is. And I'm going to try to get it without any glare on it, but that's the symbol. Now, I did it 2 different ways because I think 2 different ways meant it was the same symbol, but having the line across 2 different ways meant something different. And so that's why I did that. And it was really interesting, but that's a symbol that came to me just out of the blue in the middle of the night. And I woke up because a voice told me that I had to tell him about this symbol immediately. So I did, and he didn't know what to think about it. It's just something that we have that we don't really know what it means. But there you go. I thought that was pretty cool, though, to be shown that image to such a degree that, it's like ingrained into my brain. So anyways, before that, I had a pretty amazing experience with quite a few different alien groups. One was a woman who was an ambassador from her region in the galaxy. She had her sister with her. There was a little girl, and with the little girl, there was what I call an alien nursemaid. And in this particular experience, I went to go meet them all, and it was underwater. And I remember we were under, and I don't know what ocean we were under, but there was a huge, huge dome, and there were a lot of military around. So I was placed in a room with a bunch of chairs, and each person was waiting their turn to talk to this alien woman who was an ambassador from her area, from her region. And I don't know if, I said galaxy, or different area of the galaxy, but I'm wondering if maybe she was Middle Earth. And I think I'm probably going to have to say that I'm going more towards that direction, because I noticed that there were 2 different tunnels. One went further underground, under the ocean floor. And then where I was being taken out was to go back up. But I was in another part of this dome that had a lot of tropical plants and stuff, which was really interesting. So I was taken to an area where there were these military jeeps, and I was taken off someplace, I think back to the top. So anyways, this woman, or this nursemaid, this alien nursemaid, came right up to me, and she said to me empathically to look at her face, take it in, and memorize her face. For some reason, she wanted me to memorize her face. And she wasn't scary at all. She was very gentle. She had on a dress that looked more like a between a nurse's uniform and a nanny uniform, but it was very simplified, almost kind of like a cloak that didn't have much to it, maybe a few areas of design on the fringe, but it was just very basic and plain. And she was responsible for this little girl. And for some reason, this little girl was really important to me. She was about 6 or 7, and I was asked to actually look at the side of her ribs. She had gills, so she actually could breathe underwater and she could actually be on land. She was able to switch from one or the other. And I didn't know if she was born that way, or I didn't know if she was a hybrid, but for some reason there was this connection to her and me. I'm not sure she was mine. She could have been. She was connected to the ambassador and her sister, so I'm not quite sure what that was all about. I had a connection to these women and to this little girl, and I had a feeling they were my family, but I can't tell you outside of that what that means. But here's a drawing of the nursemaid. And let's see if I can get it. There we go. So that's the nursemaid. And I just call her the nursemaid. I mean, I'm sure she probably had a name. I just don't remember it. It just didn't come back with me, because when she told me to memorize her facial features, I was busy doing that. I was like looking at her eyes. Her eyes were very mesmerizing and very kind. She was not scary. But as you can see, she has 2 sets of nostrils, which was the hardest part to get because I'm not the greatest drawer. But I did my best to try to give you a good idea of what she looks like. So she's pretty spectacular. She's very sweet, very kind, and I definitely wouldn't mind seeing her again. But I really, really enjoyed visiting with her. The next group that I drew are dimensional beings that are very scary. I had another journey that I went on where I went to a location. It was like, I think it was Hawaii or somewhere like that. It was some island. And there were a lot of different groups of aliens, and they were taking humans up in their spacecraft. And there were a lot of people from Japan and China, Philippines. There seemed to be more of them than anybody else. I saw a lot of other people. I actually saw a lot of elderly, which was really interesting. And these different groups of aliens, dimensional beings, were taking humans. And I had a suspicious feeling that it wasn't for the best, for our best interest. But then again, when you're observing something like that, you're not quite sure why you're seeing it. But I saw different groups of aliens, and I saw one UFO where it was very small, but when you went into it, it was really large. And what was really scary about that particular one is there were cages inside that one, and they were just throwing people in, and I was kind of freaking out. Then there was another group who were taking in like a lot of businessmen who were from Japan or China or wherever. And I didn't get a good feeling about that either. I thought, well, there's something not quite right here. And I was looking at this one alien, and I don't know if you've ever seen those scary movies where the face moves really, really fast. And they're going back and forth from side to side. And this is like really scary, like a million miles a minute. That's what this alien was doing, because the hologram that this alien was actually using, I think it malfunctioned. So it couldn't kind of get itself set into whatever it's trying to portray. And when I was looking at this particular alien, it knew that I could see that it was the hologram was kind of, or whatever it was wearing was kind of like messed up. And that was the scariest part, is when this alien kind of knew that I knew. Now, the third group is what I drew, and they were the scariest of them all because many of the other alien groups were afraid of them. These are what I call dimensional aliens or dimensional beings. And they're a very ancient group. They're very sophisticated. Their technology is beyond anything that the other alien groups have. And what they were doing was very scary. They were taking in a lot of the elderly, that the elderly thought they were going someplace. I don't know what they told them, but they walked up to this machine, and I would love to be able to draw this machine, but it's much too complicated for me. But what this machine did is it just took everything. It actually dissolved the person, and actually it dissolved the soul. They were like the soul takers. They used the whole essence of the person to energize their spacecraft. So they would use us as energy for their spacecraft, but they would go dimensionally. And I guess you need a different kind of energy for that. I don't know. But this group was very scary. And I was very afraid of the fact that this being knew that I was looking at it. And I immediately tried to get out of the location that I was at, because this group in particular, if you have other alien groups that are weary of them and stay, away from having any contact with them or doing anything with them, then they're very dangerous. And so anyways, this drawing was going to look a little wonky, but this probably is one of the better drawings that I've done, because this is exactly what this thing looked like. And here it is. Let's see if I can. So I'm having problems today. This one's a little lighter. Let me move it over. Let's see. Maybe that's the best I'm going to get it. Doesn't seem as light. And the drawing doesn't seem as light, but I guess it is. So here we go. I'll just keep it up there. This is what they look like. They had really huge upper areas. I guess the cranial area. They had the indentions there. They had very thin necks, which I thought was very interesting. And their eyes were unkind. Their eyes really were not necessarily crazy eyes, but maybe there's an cold indifference to them, but then slash crazy. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's the truth. So anyways, that's what this group looked like. And of all the aliens that I've ever drawn, this is the scariest that I've ever drawn, because I've never met a group that were upfront for their disdain of humans, to the point to where we're just like cattle. They have no more appreciation for us than they would any energy source. So the fact that they think we're just so, I think even not even Neanderthal, I think they just think that we just have no purpose. They have no qualms about taking people and doing what they do. And they do it right here. They don't even take people away. They actually do it here, which makes it kind of scary. So this next group that I saw were from, it says April 15th, 2014. And this was interesting because this was an alien group that has not been here very long. They are in Russia, and they're working with the Russian military. From what I saw, I was underground in cave-like in the cave area that had been, I guess, cleared out to put troops and different groups of men and women in there. A lot of them were military. That we all shared or from what I could see and what I was experiencing, we all shared a bathroom. And the bathrooms were open, so the showers were open. The sinks were in the middle of the bathrooms, and it was just, there were no walls anywhere. I think just except the stalls had walls, and we had bunks. And then there's this big open space for the bunks and for the bathrooms, and you walk down these steps into a huge, massive cave, and there were all these desks and all these computers and everything and big screens, gigantic screens, multiple screens that different soldiers were working on. This particular alien actually came through, and I was so terrified because the intensity of its energy was just so terrifying. It's like a walking dinosaur, very massive, had the build of the Hulk, but it definitely was an alien mind. And the skin wasn't scaly, and it might look scaly with my drawing. I tried to make it look more dinosaur, so it had more of a texture of a T-Rex or something like that. But it had an ability to talk to me empathically, because I had actually jumped in the bunk that I was at and put the covers over my head, and this thing came into my mind. So it didn't matter if I couldn't see it with my actual physical eyes. This thing came to me and actually went into my empathic mind and showed itself to me, to my third eye. So, I saw it anyways. It was pretty scary, and they came here for a specific mineral. It's green. My understanding is that it's in a lot of old mines. I wasn't quite sure which type of mineral it was, but they need it. And so they came here to get it. And I think that my understanding is that there were even old mines here in the United States that they're interested in that has this particular mineral. I don't know why they sided with the Russians, but they seem to favor them and their policies more. They're more of a political group. I don't know where they came from. I didn't really want to speak to him. But anyways, this is a drawing of this particular alien that is connected to the Russians. And as you can see, they're really, really big. I mean, he was probably about 8 feet tall, 8 to 9 feet tall. The height was like a Sasquatch. They could possibly be a little taller, but when you're looking at something like this that's about 8 or 9 feet tall, you know that they're pretty big and massive. And he was like built like the Hulk, so seemed to be muscled up and just huge. And when he walked, you could feel the ground shake a little bit, kind of like, you hear you can feel in the movies when you're watching the movies like Jurassic Park or whatever. When he walked, you could feel the ground shake a little bit when he would walk. His presence, you could feel his energy. It was very, not necessarily threatening, but you got this feeling of caution when you were around him, because you just didn't want to, make him mad, anger him. So very much a male, and that's what he looks like. So kind of scary. Okay, so this next drawing is actually a nice one. This is one of my spirit guides, and he's very quiet, but from what I wrote here, he's kind of like he's Mayan, and he's not, I'm not going to say a watcher because that makes him a bit creepy, but he kind of watches over me, and I think he's the one that will say, go, move, whatever. If I have a situation where I'm in danger, it's probably him saying for me to go and just leave or do something. I just call him the Mayan. He's, I don't know if he really is Mayan. He gives me that Mayan vibe. Maybe he's more, I don't know. Yeah, I guess more Mayan, Aztec, in the South American region, just kind of has that old ancient wise man, medicine man kind of energy to him. And he came to me while I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. In fact, a lot of these drawings are when I was from there. I have some that are down the line, I'll be from Utah. But this guy is someone who is really more spirit guide that's just back away, observing, watching, and kind of looks out for me. And I'm grateful that he does. And I know that he has dark eyes, and everybody's going to be going, oh, that's scary. But actually, when you look into his dark eyes, are not scary. It's almost like it's kind of like you're seeing the universe through his eyes. You're seeing knowledge in his eyes when you're looking at him. And he's very quiet and you just get this sense he's ancient and wise. So he's one of the ancient ones. And this is just kind of how he shows himself to me. And his hair actually is like an orangey red, which is, I don't know why. I guess that's something he's comfortable with. He likes his hair that color. That's why I actually colored his hair that way, is because that's actually the color it is. And he's probably older than what I made him, but I didn't know how to do the wrinkles. So I'm not the greatest when it comes to drawings, like I was telling you. So anyways, there you go. There's my Mayan spirit guide. Now the next one came to me probably in 2014 when I was on an airplane. And then again, when I was driving in a car, he just showed himself to me. He said his name was Debrion. And Debrion is, I think he's like a quoter. He's like this, he likes to give me these philosophical quotes that he comes up with. And I call him an ancient being. He's definitely not from this area. He's from another galaxy. And I might even say he's dimensional, because at this point in time, when I was seeing a lot of these beings, it seemed like some of them were dimensional. I think we might confuse some dimensional beings with from out in the galaxy or in some other location. So this is Debrion. And again, I know Debrion has dark eyes. They're very dark. The outside isn't white, but it's a lighter gray than the black pupils in the middle. And I'm not quite sure what these are. I don't know if he was wearing a hat or what, but that's what he looks like. And he's got a cleft chin, as you can see, but it's very extreme cleft chin. And he just likes to, well, he used to give me a lot more quotes than he does now. As a matter of fact, I haven't heard from him in quite a while. And I think that just happens. I think that when you're doing stuff and your mind's focused on something else, I think it's not easy for these beings or entities or aliens to come and contact us. I think when we're doing stuff in our lives, when we're focused in on that, I think that if they're kind-hearted, they give us the space we need to kind of live life and do what we need to do. So this is Debrion, and he's my philosopher, and he's given me quite a few good quotes here and there. So I enjoy him, and like I said, it's very sad. I haven't seen him in a long time. So The next group, I think I've shown you guys before. They are the two entities that I saw at Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. So now we're into Utah, which is around 2015 and 2016. So this first one is Amadeus, and the other entity, Antioch, are the two. One's an earthbound angel. The other one is a Djinn. And they actually are the two beings that actually are the gatekeepers to the gigantic portal that's there at Skinwalker Ranch. And yes, I did try to contact a couple times the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, and my emails were ignored, or he didn't get them, or they went into spam or whatever. I don't know, but I tried to. I know that what happens with people like me when we're empathic, it's not like one day I just decide to be empathic and whatever. It's my experiences with the spirit world have happened since I was a young child, and I have family to back up me saying this. There are a lot of unusual things that happened to me when I was a kid. Not just me, but my sisters too, because my sisters and I, all three of us, are very empathic. We're just empathic in different ways. And so I think it's generational. It's not just something that just one day you wake up with and you go, oh yeah, I think I'm going to be empathic today. It doesn't happen. But I think when you're not known for your abilities or whatever, I think then people kind of poo-poo whatever you say, and they're like, oh, she just wants to get on the bandwagon of the series, whatever. But no, I saw Skinwalker Ranch back way before the series came out, and I came up with the same conclusions. Basically, the series just confirmed what I had already come up with and had written about. But when I tried to explain who I saw when I was, who actually came to me after the fact of being at Skinwalker Ranch, because these beings followed us home, it just was like fell on deaf ears. And it's just like there's probably a ton of people who want the experience of going out to Skinwalker Ranch. Well, I went out there. So Michael and I went, and we had our experiences, because nothing, we don't wait for something to get big to go follow it and go see whatever it is. If something interests us, we're going to go do it. So thank goodness that Amadeus was the first one who contacted me, because she is a hermaphrodite, male and female. And because Amadeus contacted me first, I think it kind of helped me out a little bit with Antioch, because I was not comfortable with Antioch at all. But this is how Amadeus appeared to me when I saw Amadeus. And so Amadeus is featureless, as you can see. And there we go. And just has a lot of swirling energy around him. I'm just going to say him, her. And as you can see, it's just energy coming out of Amadeus. And it's just Amadeus is just energy. So, but is outlined in a human form to make it more comfortable for me. Probably Amadeus was just pure energy and just showed himself to me so that I would be more comfortable with talking with an energy form. So if we can kind of have in our mind's eye something visual that's familiar, it makes it a little bit easier for us to get information. But I just got a lot of love from Amadeus, and Amadeus is just a beautiful, loving angel, and is also very old, very, very old, and has been here because that portal that is on the ranch at Skinwalker Ranch is one of the natural portals on the planet. It's one of the major important portals. And that's why these two are the gatekeepers of that portal, because a lot of different entities, UFOs, different groups come in and out of that portal. It's a very important portal to the planet. So that's Amadeus. And then this is Antioch. Now I made Antioch less scary, and that was my artistic privilege, only because who wants to see somebody who's really scary looking? But Amadeus I've written articles on not Amadeus, excuse me, Antioch. So Antioch is the one I was talking about. Antioch, I tried to make less scary because nobody wants to talk about a djinn. And Antioch at one point was in our home and creating a lot of activity. We had a lot of paranormal stuff happening and things being knocked over and just all kinds of crazy stuff until I ended up talking to Antioch and saying, you have to stop. So Antioch is the opposite side of that gate. And you need ancient beings to guard portals like what's on Skinwalker Ranch, because the energy that it takes for these things to exist. And from what I understand, the knowledge that these beings have to be able to hold that energy together, they have to be pretty powerful. And from what Antioch told me, they are not demons. Now, you can argue till you're blue in the face with him, because I'm not going to argue. I'm just telling you what he told me. What he's basically stating to me is that they're ancient beings that have been around since the archangels. They know the archangels. And so he's there because he's requested to be there, or he has to be there. So no, he doesn't like humans, but he did talk to me. That's what made me so uncomfortable talking to him. But this is Antioch. And that's kind of what, there we go. That's kind of what, to me, the djinn looks like. And I tried to make him as less scary as possible. But that's him. And what he would do is he thought it was really cool that I drew him. So I would put his drawing up in a folder in a drawer, and then all of a sudden my printer would turn on and there the drawing would be in the printer, and he'd print out copies of himself. It was just crazy. But but I asked him not to do that, and he didn't do it. So he's kind of left all of that alone. Plus I don't have a printer like that by my desk anymore anyways. So that's him. And so I don't particularly like doing drawings of reptilians. I've done two. There's one I'm not going to show just because, I just thought showing you one was enough. But this particular reptilian was a problem for me before we left Utah. And this reptilian could turn male or female, whichever it wanted. When I was first seeing this particular reptilian, it was female, and it never changed from female. And it was real intense. It was giving me a lot of problems. And it was a major part of why I wanted to leave Utah, because it just would not leave me alone. So Michael, and I sensed that it was trying to do things kind of to keep us there. And like I fell down some steps and twisted my ankle. And, the day we were leaving, and, it just seemed like we had this urgency to leave. And almost like one of those scary movies where something's trying to keep you there. The house is trying to keep you there. Well, in this instance, it was this reptilian that was trying to keep us there. And anyways, this is just my interpretation of how I saw her. But she's one of those beings that can just turn from male to female. And this is more, I think this is just how it looks, whether it's male or female. But this is my drawing and my interpretation of what it looks like. So, and I don't care to know its name. It didn't occur to me to even learn. I didn't want to know. I didn't want to get to know it. I just wanted it to start leaving me alone. And so anyways, there we are. And then Michael just went by the window. How about that? So that's a reptilian that was giving me problems in Utah. So enough said on that one. Now this next little sprite dude, I love him. These are the guys who were at Dugway Proving Grounds, and these were the ones who actually said, hey, if you come and take photographs of Skull Valley, then we'll show ourselves to you. And so it was really cool that this little guy contacted me after our first trip to Dugway. We did a first trip just driving around the whole area, try to get a good feel of everything. And that's, I think, what Michael said. I was trying to take a picture of Dugway, and they actually had these big signs that said, not to take a picture, use of lethal force, however they say it, use of lethal force allowed, or whatever, however they say that. They're very scary signs. That's all I know. Anyways, from that first experience, this guy came to me and said, hey, go back. Don't just go to this particular area, and we're going to show ourselves to you. And from what I understand is they're there. They are, as a part of where they do their work. I think that they are underground, and I don't know if they work as part of that base, but I do know that they showed themselves to me, and I don't think they're very big. I don't think they're very tall, maybe 3 feet. But anyways, they're very sweet and very nice. And we went a third time just to see if we get the same photographs. We couldn't, and they never showed themselves to me after that. So it's really funny because sometimes aliens or spirits or entities, they don't constantly come and nag you all the time. They'll make contact with you. And if you respond in kind, then they'll maybe, if they say, look, if you go do this, I'll show myself to you. That's what we did. They showed themselves to us, and we were able to get these light being type of photographs. And I think Michael called them, he was in the shower, and he called them the plasma photon vehicles. So that's kind of what came to him after we had the experience of photographing them. So that's kind of what I ended up calling their vehicles. I don't think that's who they are, but they're pretty cool guys. And let's see. There we go. There. That's what they look like. And so they're very nice, very sweet. They had really good energy, and I enjoyed meeting them. But they just kind of wanted to connect. They wanted me, I guess, to draw them. And then they wanted me to photograph them, which I did. And then that was it. So it's not every contact that you make that you have something scary happen. Now, this next guy, he came to me in Utah, and I don't know why. I didn't necessarily have an experience with him. I just know that he came to me. I saw him. I think he was we went to a lot of different areas where there were a lot of fossils. We actually dug up some fossils, which was really a lot of fun because we're kind of rock hounds. We like to do that. And I think that's where he came from. I don't know where he lives, if he comes through a portal. I don't know if he's visiting inner earth. I don't know, whatever. I have no clue. All I know is his name is Krona. And Krona came to me and just said hello. And I guess as an empath, they kind of sense and know if you're open to making friends or whatever. And so he said hello. He just wanted to make himself known, but that's as far as we got. Maybe if I would have stayed in Utah longer, I probably would have had more in contact with him. But that's Krona. And yes, Krona has dark eyes. And that's just one thing that I wanted to make really clear to everybody, is that not everything that has black eyes is scary and creepy. And we just need to get over that fact, because maybe the fact that we have white in our eyes is creepy to them. No, maybe it's just the other way around. For any of these entities and beings and whoever comes through, maybe we're probably just as scary. But he does have a little bit of white in his eyes. as you can see, but he has his pupils are huge. And that's just what he looks like. And he just came to me and said hello, and I drew him. So he's a cool guy. But as far as what he wanted to tell me, I don't know. Okay, and so the last, well, I'm going to show you Loki, and I'm going to show you Warja, and then I'm going to read an article that I had written after the fact that just came out in the August issue of Paranormal Underground, because I want to end on a special note about Sasquatch. But this is the group of grays that I dealt with when I was young. And so I just decided just here recently that 2021, you're going to see the date. I wanted to just go ahead and to show you what I saw as a child, because I know there's different drawings, and I can always say, oh yeah, that looks like who I worked with, but this is also what they look like to me as well. So let's see if I can, there we go. So that's what they look like. Those are the little dudes that I used to hang with when I was a kid. And I don't find them scary at all. I even when I was a kid, I just didn't find them scary. I mean, they were different. So, I mean, maybe as an empath, because we see so many different entities and beings, it takes a lot to scare us. Antioch and the Russian alien, and then that reptilian were scary for me, but these guys, they don't scare me at all. I don't know why, they just don't. So there you go. And last but not least is my, I just love Loki and Morja, but this is Loki, who contacted me, let's see, I think from 2014 up until Utah. And then he's been very quiet. So he's probably, because he's a portal jumper, I think Loki probably has a lot of things that he's doing. And then as he made it very clear to me, I'm a little too scattered. So he wanted me to center myself more before he had more contact with me, because he had some important things he wanted me to do and I wasn't doing them. So sometimes life gets in the way. And then this is Warja. And with Warja, oh, I'm sorry. It's it's a little too shiny, but with Warja, very female, just love her. She's just a compassionate, loving Sasquatch. I just love her. So she's very special to me. I just don't know why it's not showing. There, maybe there you go. There she is. There she is. Yeah, and I did artistic privilege. I gave her some eyeliner, but her eyes were different than Loki's. She had a lot of dark underneath that made it look like eyeliner, because she's a different type of Sasquatch. So, I wanted to show that there's different groups of Sasquatch that are around. Okay. So now I want to read to you an article that I wrote. And the reason why I want to read it to you is because I want to kind of get my opinion across about what I think about Sasquatch and some of the problems that we're having with different groups who are looking for Sasquatch. And so here's the article right here. It's in the August issue that just came out of Paranormal Underground. Here we go. And I titled it Sasquatch, a sentient being in a mindless world. The ebbing of wildlife chatter and the quiet of the night marks the twilight hour of change. Crickets chirp, the owl hoots their warning. It's nature's melodic symphony changing her tune to the moment day is handed over to night. By this time, the sequestered day is not only at rest, but in blissful respite. This cues the gentle giants of the forest to leave their humble to leave their humble abodes. Sasquatch emerges and thus begins his serenade, the crooner of the nighttime. The wind echoes the songs and dialogues as she passes, swirls and twirls by, almost becoming the gossip monger, revealing the tittle-tattle of the forest. One only needs to feel the breeze to know that Sasquatch is nearby. To be with Sasquatch in the moment is a meditation of the mind, almost like a Zen moment that is a journey of the soul, transcending anything experienced in the human world. The clans of Sasquatch call the forest home. To anybody who's ever heard Sasquatch in the distant horizon, it can seem like something otherworldly has descended upon their reality with an exploding crescendo. In the dead of night, footsteps can be heard in the distance, along with a deafening silence accompanying it. This isn't a horror flick or scary story. It's the way of life for Sasquatch. It's the reality of the forest. As the insanity of the world encroaches into their way of life, I often wonder how such majestic giants see humans. Sasquatch has many stories to tell, and what is so sad is the fact that they haven't been able to share them. There's no antediluvian ephemera around because that is not the way of the Sasquatch. They live long enough to tell their own story, and if humans can open up, they would be able to hear their stories directly. The main problem people have and why they don't open up is that there is too much science fiction mixed in with fact. In the research that my partner Michael and I have done, it became clear to us that Sasquatch is as misunderstood today as ever before. I think there are more people open to the idea of Sasquatch and other cryptids living in the forest, but those who search for Sasquatch are the rocketeers of this field. At this point, there is such a divide with the cryptid phenomenon regarding what is considered hard science and those in the field doing contact research. Some want to hunt Sasquatch for science, while others, like Michael and I, find this not only absurd, but it exasperates the already heated divide. Science in this regard needs to be more level-headed. Because Sasquatch is a silent type, there are many misconstrued concepts attached to what little is known about them. I think they get blamed for a multitude of problems they take no part in. The quandary here lies between the link people make with their perception of the mythical monster versus a gentle giant who just wants to be left alone. Even hiking deep in the middle of a multitude of forests, Michael and I know that we are guests in someone else's home. There are those hidden realms, the dark shadows that shelter the unknown, the macabre that weaves its web every so often. Every once in a while, someone walks into the silence, never to be seen again. Even though disappearances happen in the city, the forest somehow becomes the forbidden realm of inconceivable evil. Its beautiful and euphonious respite is all but forgotten within the blink of an eye once the underbelly of the paranormal makes its rounds. David Paulides, best-selling author of 10 books detailing the missing 411 disappearances of a multitude of people, gives really good advice that I feel many people don't listen to because of uneducated attitudes regarding camping and hiking. Let's face it, we all want to have a good time hanging in nature, but it's so important to understand that weather, rain, and the instincts of wild animals don't cater to our whims. Our gut instinct is our connection to Mother Nature. So we can understand her language, even if it's nonverbal and more on the visual side. There's a primordial understanding that we are born with. People just need to remember that wind, rain, growls, or silence can speak volumes, but only if we are listening. For Michael and me, as researchers, it's not just about the footprints Sasquatch leaves or the sightings at a distance. It's all about establishing a friendship with them and hopefully gaining their trust. As an empath, anything that contacts me with a benevolent heart gets a friendly response back. With the few Sasquatch that I have come in contact with, the awe and the humbling feelings of not only the initial connection itself, but the fact they chose to make contact is like an overwhelming embrace like nothing I've ever felt before. They give so much love when they communicate, and I wish all people who are interested in Sasquatch could feel this amazing and enveloping hug. It boils down to this. People need to understand that when they are in the forest, whether camping, fishing, or hiking, the ratio of variables of the unknown spike. Sasquatch are people too. And I think the chances of meeting them and other forest folk in their habitats is greater than anyone thinks. Escaping the daily grind can make the forest seem like an idyllic place to be, but that also doesn't mean you leave your instincts at home. And then a quote that I liked from Chief Dan George from the Tisley Taliv Nation, British Columbia, Canada. And I'm not quite sure how to say that particular tribe. I think it's Tisley Taliv. Yeah, because I think I put it down here so I could say it correctly. And they're from British Columbia, Canada. And Chief Dan George said, if you talk to the animals, they will talk with you, and you will know each other. If you do not talk to them, you will not know them. And what you do not know, you will fear. What one fears, one destroys. And I think that says it in a nutshell how I feel about hunting Sasquatch. If you don't get to know Sasquatch, if you can't hear Sasquatch, if you have these ideas in your head about Sasquatch, you're never going to understand who they are, and you're never going to meet them because they're a step ahead of us. They're beings that are highly evolved more than we are, and they unfortunately understand the habits of humans, the danger of humans. And I think that for me, I would hope that if something came up to me, it wouldn't want to kill me because it didn't understand who I was, if it was from another planet or if it was somewhere else. I would hope that if an entity or a being came up to me, that it would want to get to know me. And maybe that's childish, or maybe it's to some people it's unrealistic. But as an empath, I know that there's so much that we miss as humans because we are not open to the possibilities of anything outside of what we think reality is. And I know that reality is not, as Michael says, not what it seems, because reality is changing constantly every single day. So all these beings that I've shared with you have come into my world, and they've changed my world. And I think that's the important thing, is just to be open and to allow these beings to connect with you if you're comfortable. If you're not comfortable, don't do it, because it can be daunting at certain points. I know that with Loki, he was communicating with me at 2:00 in the morning, and I get up and I start writing down what he'd be saying to me. And it was just exhausting and hard because I'm human and I'm not Sasquatch. As much as I would love to have Sasquatch DNA in me, I don't. So I need my sleep. So we're learning from each other, basically, is what I'm saying. So these entities and these beings are learning who we are. They know our faults. They know our Achilles heels. They know kind of what's going on in our world, especially if they observe who we are. So if it's looking at the world from different viewpoints, I would hope that these beings would give me a chance and learn who I am as a human. And that's just what I'm saying to all of you, is just, with all these different aliens, beings, and entities that I've come in contact with, if you have them in your lives, then just try to find out what they have to say, because there's a message there. And maybe there's some messages where there's a phenomenal answers that we've been looking for. And there might be even answers for us in our lives. Maybe they have something to say to us, even in spirits and ghosts, they might have something to say. Because I know the veil, it doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. So anybody can come through and say whatever they need to say. You just have to decide if you're the one that's going to be the contact person. And so I'm an empath, and it's just who I am, and I've come to peace with it. So I'm open to any of these beings, entities, aliens coming to me and talking to me. Only thing that I do, the caveat here, is I just make sure they have my highest good at heart with light. They come in light and love, and that's the important thing. So this is kind of a weird, different kind of video, I know, but I wanted to give you something a little different. And if you have anything to share or add, you know what you can do. You can email us at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. You can leave a comment below. You can give me a thumbs up. And I greatly appreciate that. If you have any questions on anything, not just this, but if you have a problem with a haunting, or you have maybe contact with something, you're not sure how to deal with it, you can also email Michael and I at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. And we're here to help. That's kind of why we started this channel, because we want everybody to know that we're here to help. So thank you for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.